just joining us, I'm Nancy Sheed of Sheed Communications with Brooke White. Brooke is a ghostwriter and a book editor with years and years and years of experience and great fun clients. And she's just a great person to work with. Brooke, one of the things that you and I have always talked about as we've stayed in touch is, working with authors. And they're really fun, great people. But writing books is a very personal experience. So whether you're, whether they're coming to you as ghostwriter or editor, but when they're choosing a partner to help them get through this meaty part of their book, right? Like you're the partner for this writing partner in whatever capacity it is, right? What are the things that are what makes the best working relationship?
Trust. Also, I very much appreciate people who respect deadlines and who are able to remain focused on the book as a priority project in their lives. Strangely, many people can begin the process and then get distracted by, life happens, of course, life happens. But it's really important to maintain momentum during either the editing or the ghostwriting process. And there are certain areas within the process that snags can occur and do typically occur. The first draft is one of them, because it can be very daunting when somebody receives 150 pages of a Word document that they need to read about their life. And like, how do I do this? Where do I even, it's like the elephant in the living room.
Right.
But it's really just slow and steady wins the race. Also, sometimes people really want to rush and hurry up and have their book available by Christmas of next year or a conference in the spring. And I think it's fantastic to have goals to reach for, but I always suggest that people quality over quantity. Like you cannot rush the process, because as we were talking about earlier, things shift and things change, and how things are presented or how they are said. Maybe you need a little bit more research, or maybe you need to get permission from a few different corporations or entities, and you have to allow yourself the time to pursue new ideas as they emerge. And also you have to allow yourself time to sit with it and process it and not be racing the clock.
Yeah. And I was also, so I'm assuming that most people, if they're coming to you, or typically this is their first time as an author. So do you actually have a process that I'm sure you explain to them how this goes and they nod their head like, yeah, I got it. But once they're in the middle of it, like you said, when you hand back that manuscript, right? Do you say, here are some suggestions on how to process this, or how to read it? Like, have you learned, like, you can't just hand it over and say, don't take a red pen to it, or, have you sort of developed your own kind of toolkit for helping them get to that finish line in a timely yet reflective manner, right?
Yes, very much so. And one thing that can be a hard mental switch for people is that, this is my book. I'm writing my story, my experience, my this. But the fact of the matter is the book is for the readers. So you really need the readers. Theoretically are going to be the ones buying the book and talking about the book and generating buzz. So you really, and as a marketing PR professional, you can certainly appreciate this. You have got to always keep your audience in mind, first and foremost. Who is this book for? Yes, it's your story, but whose lives are whose life are you going to touch, and how so, and how is your story unique? So you do need to put on your marketing cap a little bit in terms of thinking about differentiators in the market. But certainly when I send a whole manuscript to somebody for the first time, I suggest that they don't have a red pen, that they that they try very, very hard to take themselves out of the game. Read it like you would read any other book that you pick up off the shelf. Think about where is the story lagging? Where is your interest fading? Because if it's your story and your interest is fading in a certain area, then I can promise you the readers will as well.
Right.
So it's sort of, you have to wear a few different caps during the process.
That's so helpful. And I love that you know, and I'm sure there are a few people who just say, I want to write my book to tell my story and that's it. Those aren't the people that are coming to you, me, or you, we have to say that's fine, but then you don't need to be worried about marketing, right? Like, but I,
Right.
you know,
Well, certainly, yeah. I mean, there are legacy people who are writing it for, you know, their immediate family, or they
right.
want to record a legacy, and I love those types of projects as well. But you know, for the purpose of this conversation, I think we're thinking about people who want to get their book, you know, to market.
Yeah. Yeah. And you called it, we say the same thing when, you know, I just was chatting with a client yesterday. She's like, I now always think about what's the call to action. I always think about what is the consumer right. Like I always,
Mhm.
you know, she's like, and she said, I always now have your voice in my head of, am I in the weeds, or is this too, you know, is this too techie, or is this too specific?
Right,
Um, you
right.
know, because they're stuck in it all day and they don't have to do that. So I feel like that is, you know, even if it's not marketing, it's the like, why does it matter to somebody else, right?
Right,
What are we
right.
talking?
Because that's the first thing any reader's thinking is, what's in it for me? You know, what am
100%.
I going to get out of this?
Right. So I heard trust, respect for deadlines, trust the process,
Flexibility.
stay engaged, and think about, be aware and think about the ultimate reader, right? Like that seems to
Right.
be the sort of common themes in when you're working together and work is going back and forth. If those are all adhered to, it makes for smoother sailing.